welcome you. And first I want to recognize our mayor, Julie Bajowski is here. Thank you for coming. Commissioner Freeney is also here. Thank you very much for coming this morning. And I think there may be some other commissioners coming in a little bit, but we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. I'd also like to welcome our esteemed guests, prior Hall of Fame recipients, Jeanette Hale, Evelyn Towler, Dr. J. David O'Day, Marge Stravinskas, Carl and Phyllis Boyles, Rosemary DeCouzy, Ellie Keithley, Ben Skinner, Merle Popham, Sid and Erwin Entel, Betty Ferris, Alice and Tom Anderson, Carl Keltner, Dick Whalen, Teresa Cordova O'Day, Dave and Nell Thomas, Francis Fowler, Jack and Phyllis Greenfield, Manny Pitsarias, Melba Rylott, Dave and Leo Kremsky, Bob and Dottie Bellavance. And as you know, today we're here to honor and recognize Anita Apley and Keith Kurber. I'm Carla Lindeen, the chair of the Dunedin Committee on Aging. And I'd like to recognize the committee members, Mary Bronson, Vice Chair, Mary Ann Fisher, Secretary, Kathy Gucher, Membership Chair, Sandy Sunter, Intergenerational Chair, Michael Whalen, Age Wave Chair, Bob Bellavance, PR Chair, Sharon Williams, Past Chair, Tommy Anderson, Anita Apley, Lorraine Thrush, Sue Whitman, Louise Cleary, alternate member, Kelly Edwards, member emeritus, and Elaine Swinehart, the Hale Center coordinator. On behalf of the Committee on Aging, I'd like to recognize and thank our generous sponsors who make this annual event possible. In the program, you have a list of our flower sponsors, and also random acts of flowers donated a bouquet for each of today's winners. That was very generous of them. A special thank you, however, needs to go out to Mies Manor and their staff who work tirelessly every year, donating time, resources, and our delicious meal. A special thank you to Sue Whitman, who coordinates that on behalf of Mies Manor. Also, the Committee on Aging would like to recognize Elaine Swinehart from the Parks and Recreation Department, who's the recreation coordinator here at the Hale Center, and her staff for all that they do to make this event happen every year. Thank you. Since 1963, the Older Americans Month has been a time to celebrate older Americans, their stories, and their contributions. This is led by the Administration for the Community Living. The annual observance offers a special opportunity to learn about, support, and recognize our nation's older citizens. This year's theme is Age Out Loud, which I like. I'd like to think that I'm aging out loud, which emphasizes the way older adults are living their lives with boldness, confidence, and passion while serving as an inspiration to people of all ages. Dunedin will use the Older Americans Month 2017 to focus on how older adults in our community are redefining aging through work or family interests by taking charge of their health and staying independent for as long as possible, and through their community and advocacy efforts, which we recognize here today. We can also use this opportunity to learn how we can best support and learn from our community's older members. Our keynote speaker today is Walter Schlomann, who has worked in film, and video for over 30 years. A few years ago, Walter was approached to make a biographical video of an acquaintance's father. The success of that project and the several that followed has led to the creation of the Heritage Media Group, a company that specializes in creating the highest quality video biographies. Walter incorporates the knowledge of a bona fide filmmaker and the meticulous care of a family biographer to deliver a priceless gem for future generations. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Walter.
Good morning. Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, honorees, former recipients, and distinguished guests. As Carla just mentioned, first of all, it's a real pleasure to be here to speak about something that's very passionate for me. As she mentioned, we're celebrating today, we're honoring volunteers as part of Older Americans Month, and the theme is Age Out Loud. So I want to hear, what is the theme? Age Out Loud. One more time, a little louder. Thank you. What does Age Out Loud mean? Well, according to Senior Care Corner, it means that older adults, as Carla mentioned, I think we read from the same website, but it means living lives with passion, with confidence, with boldness, and serving as an inspiration for others. I've broken it down into 3 categories. Okay, much better. The 3 categories: self-expression, advocacy, and inspiration. So what is self-expression? Self-expression means living the life that you want to live, following your pursuits. It's basically outdating visions of what aging should be. It's doing what you want to do, going where you want to go, seeing who you want to see, not seeing who you don't want to see. Unless, of course, it's the in-laws. Advocacy. Advocacy is about speaking out for yourself and for others. There are many issues that one can advocate. There's homelessness, and hunger, and transportation, and healthcare, and the list goes on and on. But as they say, a lot of politics is local. So what can you do here in Dunedin? Just want to make sure you're listening to me. Okay. I guess you are. Okay. You know, I'm from Brooklyn. It's not Brookline, it's Brooklyn. And it's far from any kind of Eden. So here in Dunedin, what can you do? I'm sure you know some local officials, some institutions. You can make a recommendation about an idea that you might have that might make life better for some seniors. Or you can take a senior to an event, share a meal, read a book. This room is filled with the honorees and volunteers who I know how to get involved, know how to speak up, and know how to help others. And I look forward to learning a little bit more about the accomplishments later on in the program. And the third point, which is a little closer to my heart in terms of my background, is inspiration. One of the most rewarding ways for seniors to age out loud is to share their experience, your wisdom, to other people. I spend a great part of my time listening to seniors in the films that I do and in the programs that I bring to different places. I've actually been listening to seniors for a very, very long time. When I was a kid, my grandmother would say, "Listen to me, young man." That was the beginning. But I actually enjoyed, my grandmother had 5 sisters, and they would come around and sit in the kitchen table and talk about the good old days and argue about details of a story, who was right, who was wrong. And I just love seeing them laugh and reminisce. And it shows you the power of stories. That's what I'm going to talk a little bit about, is the power of sharing stories. Stories are how we communicate, how we pass our traditions to younger generations. Imagine if you had a video of your great-great-great-grandparents from 200-300 years ago, what would they be telling you? What would you learn about their lives and the society that they lived in? And what would you learn about yourself? I think it would be very, very inspiring. When you tell your story, it's not about bragging. It's about understanding that your friends, your family, your children, grandchildren, and future generations will gain a benefit from the experiences that you share. And you know what? It's not only the listener, it's not only the audience that benefits from a story. It's the speaker as well, the storyteller. Here's a quote from agingcare.com. Research shows that writing on or reminiscing about family history improves self-esteem, enhances feelings of control and mastery over life, and often results in a new or expanded vision of one's life. What kinds of stories can inspire? Well, your stories are personal and universal. World events have an effect on our lives. Wars, immigration, economy, technology, we're all affected by that. And sometimes we're more directly affected than other times. Then there are the personal moments. Growing up, siblings, dating, marriage, career, education, raising a family, going on vacations, grandchildren, retirement. All those are moments in the cycle of life that people and family are generally very interested in. And then there are the jewels, these meaningful moments. They're not world events and they're not statistics. Maybe mom's recipe or grandma's advice on dating or a father's gentle touch or mother's words of encouragement at a particular difficult situation. Words of advice is a chapter that I often include in my films because people want to learn from seniors. They want to know, what have you learned and what words of wisdom can you impart on future generations? So seniors can age out loud by sharing what they've learned and experienced in life. And I mentioned briefly a program called Life Story Sharing. And this is a program that I bring to different senior centers which incorporates video on a theme as a way to engage, to inspire, to socialize, to stimulate the brain. For example, I bring in some short videos on gadgets of the past. We talk about things like the ice box and the Iceman bringing ice and cutting off little pieces of ice for the kids to suck on as a treat, as a candy treat, or transistor radios, first television sets. Another interesting topic is when I talk about the greatest generation, which of course many of you here are part of the greatest generation. We talk about those born around the Depression whose parents might have been affected by the Depression, NWPA, World War II, the Korean War, McCarthyism, civil rights, lots of things. But when we talk about World War II, veterans share some of their stories. But it's not only veterans, it's people at home. Women who worked in factories like Rosie the Riveter, who had victory gardens, or who went through rationing. And kids talk about collecting scraps of metal and donating them for a noble cause. Tom Brokaw wrote, "It is, I believe," and he coined the term, "it is, I believe, the greatest generation any society has ever produced." He argued that these men and women, many of you, fought not for fame and recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Despite these achievements, Brokaw believes that the greatest generation remains remarkably humble about what they've done. Being humble doesn't mean you shouldn't speak up. Recounting your experiences allows you to share who you are and what you believe in. And of course, not all stories are pleasant. We all go through the ups and downs of life, tragedies, hardship. Veterans sometimes, when they've been in battle, are very resistant to express themselves, or Holocaust survivors, or anybody who's gone through a traumatic experience. But when they do, when they're able to do that, it's cathartic, It's a release. And of course, beyond that, and that's the positives for them, but beyond that, many times these moments are when we learn life's greatest lessons. One more point about the power of stories. There's a book called Narrative Medicine by Rita Charon. She's a doctor, and she talks about using stories as a way to heal patients. So it's none of this going into the doctor's office and filling out all these boxes of every disease we've ever had, and then you're done. It's about sitting down with patients. How's your day? What's new? How's life? What's bothering you? How are you feeling? And through the conversation, through the stories that the patient tells the doctors are able to make a diagnosis and recommend treatment. Talk about the power of stories. My neighbor told me of taking his dad, who's in his late 80s, to the doctor. And his dad was like, whatever the doctor says, whatever the doctor recommends, that's, he knows best. I don't think that's aging out loud. Yes, doctors are professionals, but you have a say in the kind of medicine and treatment that you may need or want. Aging out loud is about expressing your wants, your needs, to have a say in what happens to you and those around you. So I found 2 quotes from senior volunteers when they were asked, what does age out loud mean to you? And I think they summarize it fairly well. What does age out loud mean to me? It means action, getting out into my community to interact, advocate, and educate myself and others about how to create the best possible world for our elders. The other one. To me, age out loud means that our seniors refuse to be stereotyped as sitting in a rocking chair doing nothing. We want to exercise, enjoy book clubs, play mahjong and other games that engage our brains, go to plays, and interact with people in the community. We want to feel useful, active, and involved, and we want to be heard. So, to transpose a phrase that's been in the news for the last year, senior lives matter. What you say matters, what you do matters, and what you do for others matters. It's a privilege to be here with this very distinguished group that contributes so honorably to this community. Dunedin, whatever it may be. A group which I am sure will take this year's theme for a long ride, who will continually, day in and day out, to express, to advocate, and to inspire. A group that I am sure will age out loud. Thank you.
While Sharon's coming up, I just want to recognize also Commissioner Deborah Kynes and Commissioner Heather Gracie. They've joined us. And did I miss anybody else? And Commissioner John Tornga. Thank you. And, I'm sorry, and County Commissioner Dave Eggers. Thank you. Sharon Williams, past chair of the Dunedin Committee on Aging, is now going to introduce and recognize and honor Anita Apley. She wants me to talk some more. They might not want to listen. Okay, you good, Sharon? Okay. Yeah.
I just want to mention that the words Walter just spoke about Age Out Loud, they were really line up very closely with the important information that Anita shared with me about her life. So just see where you find some commonality. as I tell you Anita's story. Okay. So, Anita was born, down a little, in Brookline, Michigan. And that is in the southern part of Michigan, just southwest of Detroit. Let's see. Okay, I'm too far away. Looks like we need some. So this is an area surrounded by small lakes and many summer visitors. A quiet place where everyone knew you and knew your family, where mothers heard about you before you arrived home to share your good and bad stories. At the age of 8, Anita was gifted with a brother, Charles, known as Cork. She always thought her mother had him for her. They remain close and share a special friendship, and she is so pleased that he could be with her today, sitting next to her. Volunteering was a policy in the family, and their grandmother, Aunt Cliff, always said you have a right to be of service. Growing up, she had numerous examples of giving back to her community. A strong volunteer commitment started in high school. She was classroom sister to an elementary class, spending time in their room to help with young learners. Her activities were primarily band-focused. Here she is, card with the arrow on her. She was a majorette in the high school band all 4 years, and also the music librarian for the band. She was also involved in her Episcopal church.
Sharon, time out. I'm the second one from
I've got the arrow on the wrong lady. Okay. And focus. Following graduation, Anita attended Jackson Community College. She joined the Rho Delta Phi sorority, and they had a very strong community presence in service projects. She graduated in 1956 with a degree in social studies, and obviously also met Dale at Jackson Community College, and they were married in 1957. They started married life in Detroit, Michigan, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and in 1961, they were delighted to return to Jackson, Michigan, and welcome a son, Dale James Apley Jr., known to many as DJ. He was a first grandchild on both sides of the family. In 1965, they bought a home in Ann Arbor and welcomed a baby girl, Beth Ann Apley, to the family. They remained in Ann Arbor to raise their family and establish a sense of community and a pattern of service. Being a stay-at-home mom and raising a family provided for a full life and plenty of volunteer opportunities. Anita was very involved at the kids' elementary school, PTO participation, and leadership roles as a room mother for several years. One thing led to another. Before long, this busy mom was organizing and leading as den mother to the Cub Scouts with her son. She followed her daughter into scouting. She was a Brownie leader, a Girl Scout troop leader, and she was honored to serve on the Huron Valley Girl Scout Council Board of Directors, and also to chair the annual Girl Scout cookie sale for the council. Are you still buy cookies? Looking to involve new young members and community volunteers, the Washtenaw County American Cancer Society asked Anita to serve on its board of directors. As part of their community program, she spent time sharing their hopeful side of cancer with the community. And in 1980, Anita embarked on a new career. Ditzel's Hush Puppy shoe store was purchased by the Apleys, and Anita soon learned the joy of, and the frustrations of being in retail. Remember when the sales clerk got down on their hands and got down to put your shoe on for you on their knees? Well, not too long following this adventure, they opened a second store in Jackson, Michigan. So Anita took one store and Dale the other. This new adventure became a large part of her life. But with teenage children, she found some time to be involved with the community in new ways. A major commitment in the Ann Arbor for the whole family was Westside United Methodist Church. Many lasting friendships were created, but this reinforced that many hands make for light work, and volunteering with cherished friends could not be beat. Something that's obviously stayed with her for a long time. Visiting Dunedin started in the 60s when Dale's parents purchased a home on Manor Drive. For several growing up years, the kids thought everyone came to Florida for Christmas and Easter. Many years were spent enjoying Honeymoon Island, and when driving to the state park, their kids would always ask, "Why can't we live there?" pointing to Royal Stewart Arms. In 1993, Anita convinced Dale to just look at a condo at Royal Stewart Arms, and was thrilled when they agreed to make an offer. They wintered here for 3 years, and they eventually made the big move in late 1996. It was the right time with their businesses sold, an aging parent, and the kids out of college. Looking to get to know Dunedin better and keep busy in the new community, Anita joined the diagnostic clinic team. Her first position was with Dr. Linda Wexler and followed by Dr. David Rothberg. And she planned it to be a short term, but it ended up being 13 years with Dr. Rothberg, as he discouraged her from retiring whenever she brought it up. While working there, it was easy to just go down the street, down the Mullen booth, and volunteer at Ruth Eckerd Hall. In her 12 years of volunteering at Ruth Eckerd, she enjoyed the fun people, and especially the live performances. Her favorite memory was Kenny G standing on a box and playing next to her while glancing down at her a time or two. Anita was inspired to join the Dunedin Youth Guild while enjoying the annual holiday tour. Their commitment to the youth of Dunedin was a strong enticement to be an active part of this organization. Chairing many committees and serving as president for 2 terms was a rewarding experience. She cherishes the bond of friendships and strongly believes in its goals and the important impact it's had on the youth of Dunedin. Representing the Dunedin Youth Guild at a chamber event, Anita learned they needed more volunteer help. Anita spends 1 day a week in the chamber office. And 2 years ago, Anita and Dale chose to be citizen members of the Chamber of Commerce, and she joined the Education Committee of the Dunedin Chamber Cultural Educational Foundation because she loved the teacher appreciation breakfast they hold annually. She continues to find it a very fulfilling experience in the morning. Like many other Dunedin residents, you find that one committee involvement leads to another. She currently is serving on the Committee on Aging, and that includes 1 year as publicity chair and another year as the intergenerational chair. She is secretary of the Coastal Waterway and Causeway Committee, and she also volunteers at several Parks and Recreation Department events each year. She currently serves as second vice president for the Dunedin Council of Organizations. So that's quite a bit on her plate. So here are some really important things about her personal life, her personal joys and fun memories that Anita cherishes and she wants to share with you today. Dale and her will celebrate 60 years of marriage this coming October. Watching her children marry, have their own families, and settle into successful lives This is her son DJ, their son DJ, and Mary Ann Apley. And right, this is her daughter Beth and Stephen Coast. They have 4 fabulous and fantastic, I'm sure, grandchildren. This is Brayley Apley, is a senior at the University of Michigan. Did I get that picture right? Okay. This is Carolyn Apley, a sophomore at Michigan State University, and their brother Dale J. Apley III, best known as Trip. He's a graduating senior from high school, and he will enter his freshman year at Michigan State. And the youngest is Charlie Coast. He's about to start at Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee. Anita feels blessed with the opportunity to travel and spend time with some of her favorite places. Here's one of them, I guess. The Mojave Desert, I don't know. Having been a Detroit Red Wings life fan and having breakfast with the Stanley Cup in Ann Arbor was a highlight. The joy she carries within her that results in her family and her friends referring to her as Mary Poppins. And there she is with Mary Poppins and 2 of her grandchildren. Anita loves to walk the beach, read a book, and enjoys dark chocolate. And perhaps Anita is like many of you in this room today. She cannot say no when a committee needs help. But that is often also why and what makes Dunedin a special place to call home. So I have also here a message that Anita doesn't know about. Her grandchildren sent it to me. These 4 wonderful grandchildren. They wanted me to read the message to her because they couldn't be here today. And they said, "Dear Grandma, we are all so proud that you are being honored at this luncheon today. Please know that although we are not in Dunedin, our thoughts and love are with you in spirit. You continue to be an example on how to give to your community, which inspires us in our sorority, philanthropy, Boy Scouts, and school community service. We even notice our parents have benefited greatly from having you as a role model. You're the best. We all love you. Brayley, Carolyn, Tripp, and Charlie." So come on up, Anita. We have your plaque.
On behalf of the City of Dunedin and the Dunedin Committee on Aging, we'd like to recognize your outstanding service and years of service to the city and to the fellow residents. Congratulations.
And we have some flowers for her.
Well, all of you that know me know if I get a chance to talk, I have a loud voice and I love to talk. But I'm so grateful for the friends and neighbors that I have in here today. I have several tables of good neighbors from Royal Stewart Arms. That means a lot to me. And I want to thank everyone that's here for this special day and this recognition. And Sharon, thank you especially for putting all of this together. Let me introduce my husband, Dale. If you don't know it, Dale likes to refer to himself as my chauffeur, my bodyguard, and my eye candy. Those are his words. Next, Dale is my brother Charles, who came here from Michigan just for this today. He wanted to surprise me, but Dale didn't think he should do that. I am blessed with so many best friends forever, and many are in this room. Mother Teresa said, "Just do small things with great love." My contributions have been small, and I have received much more from every accomplishment than I was ever able to give. The joy of giving out an academic scholarship to young people at Dunedin High. the fun of meeting the basketball coach who not only taught basketball skills, but life skills. I have learned that intergenerational activities happen in Dunedin every day, not just 1 week a month. Working on committees in the DCO has given me the fun of knowing my town and helps me keep in touch of what's happening. In other words, I'm nosy. Spending 1 day a week at the Chamber of Commerce is the best volunteer job in town. It's fun to welcome visitors and share stories of this fantastic town that I am so proud to call home since 1995. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sharon and Anita. Next, I'd like Rick Lawrence to come to the podium. He is going to introduce and tell us about Keith Kurber and Keith's contributions. Thank you, Rick.
Welcome, everyone. Keith Kurber lives at 1558 Roxburgh Lane in Dunedin. He attended local public schools in Napoleon, Ohio, until attending Northwestern Prep School in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1952, and the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland for 1 year in 1953-1954. He transferred to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, where in 1957 he received a BS in business with a minor in economics. He immediately reported to Quantico, Virginia, where he was commissioned a second lieutenant in the U.S. Marine Corps. Where he was commissioned a second lieutenant in the U.S. Marine Corps on December 10, 1957. On January 1st, 1958, he reported for flight training at the home of Naval Aviation in Pensacola, Florida, where he flew over 150 hours in 2 different airplanes, the T-34 and the T-28. The USMC, the Marine Corps Squadron, was dissolved for budget reasons, and Keith transferred to 8th Communications Battalion at Camp Lejeune, where he served as CEO for almost 3 years. He then retired from active duty and entered his career in business. His first job, lasting 15 years, was with Pure Oil Company, which later merged with Union 76 Oil Company out of California. When he resigned, he was in charge of over $64 million in sales per year. Keith entered a new career in optical equipment and testing equipment sales as a manufacturer's rep, a career running over 20 years and seeing him transferred to Florida in June of 1984. He is still living at the above address after 33 years. His wife, Honey, passed away in 2014, but he is blessed with he's blessed with 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Below are some accomplishments. 1996, Dunedin Chamber of Commerce served 3 years as a vice president and was presented the Beatrice Donahue Delightful Dunedin Award in 2002. 1997, Dunedin Historical Society Life Member was presented the History Maker Award in 1997. In 2010, the City of Dunedin presented a plaque for 9 years service as chair of the City Personnel Review Board. 1995 to 1996, 1998 to 1999, Dunedin North Rotary Club served as president for 2 terms. The club reached a high of 108 members. Incidentally, Keith is extremely honored with his senior award since Dr. Hale was one of the earliest presidents of his club. Keith went to India as a Rotary volunteer in 1999, assisting in the lip and palate humanitarian effort. He won the Rotary International President's Citation both years he served as president. He also continued his humanitarian efforts with a total of 3 trips to India and 4 trips to Peru. 2001, 2002, past president, Dunedin Country Club, accepted this position with no money in the operating budget and ended with a substantial surplus. Year 2000, past president, Dunedin Council of Organizations. We are still somewhat of a novelty statewide and able to get high-power speakers and visitors from other cities interested in our format. 2003, 2004, past district governor, District 6950, Rotary International. As the only officer of Rotary International in a district comprising of 4 Florida counties and close to 2,000 members, he accomplished all of his required goals and also increased membership. He was honored to be presented with the citation for meritorious service from the Rotary Foundation and was presented the Service Above Self Award from Rotary International President Wilkinson in 2008. He rounded out the top 3 awards in Rotary with the Distinguished Service Award in 2011. 2010 named Rotarian of the Decade in District 6950 for the years 2000 through 2010. Only 3 of these awards have ever been presented in the state of Florida. The title speaks for itself. 2012 to 2016, President, MOAA / Clearwater, Dunedin Chapter. This is the Military Officers Association of America. MOAA is an organization of 380,000 members who have been commissioned in the uniformed services of the United States. Their primary function is advocacy. The highlight each year is a trip to Capitol Hill by certain members to visit Congress and recommend needed changes for the good of the members. The individual chapters have 9 monthly luncheons locally each year, and most of them have community projects. I wish Keith Kurber would stand up to the podium now and acknowledge himself.
Keith, on behalf of the City of Dunedin and the Dunedin Committee on Aging, we would like to thank you and recognize you for your years of service to the city and its residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good job on the slides. I presented a lot of programs, being so involved in Rotary, who has a speaker every week, every year. And even though I was not familiar with technological things like the internet very early, I did become pretty good at the PowerPoint programs and that sort of thing, to present programs. And I was a little worried about it, but you did a great job, Carla. Thank you very much. First, is Jeanette Hale here by any chance? No? When we, Anita and I were presented the proclamations by the City Commission, I made a comment that I'd like to make over again. And the comment was, thank you so much because of the relationship that I had with Dr. Bill Hale, who was actually the second or third, depends on the way that that my club was operating at the time, president of my Rotary Club. And I've been a member of that club now for 30 years. And so I have had in my past 3 letters of congratulation from Dr. Hale. And I'll never lose those letters. They're so important to me. And to be here in the Hale Center is particularly important to me too. I really thank you all for that honor. Most of you, in fact, a great deal of you in the room remember my wife, Honey. Next month it'll be exactly 3 years since she's been gone. She was the love of my life. She was she gave me the opportunity to do things that I never would have had before. Particularly to travel. On those trips to India and Peru that were mentioned, the humanitarian trips, most people go through a program in Rotary that takes a lot of fuss and paperwork and that sort of thing. To get money from Rotary, the Rotary Foundation, to go on the trips, I never took any money for any of the trips I went on. And our daughter was a United flight attendant. And every trip I went on, I flew free, buying her passes. So that was half of the thing. And I went to such third world countries that the highest hotel room was usually about $10 a night. So I could handle that too. An interesting thing about humanitarian trips, you go to a place like India where and India was really, has changed tremendously in the last 20 years, but you go to a place like that and see the worst things about life. And then you come back home and see the best things in life like we have here. I'm not going to give a long Rotary speech, but I do want to make one more comment before I sit down. It's absolutely amazing that Anita and I were chosen together because I grew up swimming across the big stony lake right next to where they used to live. I spent 4 summers on Big Stony Lake in my home in Napoleon, Ohio. My best friend's uncle was a doctor in Jackson, Michigan. I didn't mention that to you, Dr. Leahy. You remember Dr. Leahy? He had a place on Clark's Lake that we used to go to also. So we're about the same age. We're from the same area. I hope that's good luck for both of us. Thank you all for coming.